PXF, Planet X Films channel. I'm Ross Manco, PXM, aka Mosh Shinobi. Go sub Gaz over at Mosh Shinobi. Gaz, you have homework to do. You still owe me Striking Rescue.
Right, well, get that. You tell me when we're going to do it, and that will be done.
We'll get it on the schedule.
Yeah.
We're talking Westerns today, guys, but we'll talk Kung Fu when we feel like it. Let me see if I can close some things in the background because we're getting a little bit of lag. Shout out to Slippy. What's up in the chat? You already seen us do a fistful of dollars. Of course, you know where we went with that. It was obviously I was about to say American Gaz, but for lack of a better phrase, I'll say a Western remake of Yokimbo, which is obviously not any sort of American or Western film cinema. A spaghetti Western. It's still west of Japan, right? We'll put it like that.
Yeah.
Found a good horror movie from Iran called Under the Shadow. Okay, I'm with it.
Okay, we'll look at that.
We'll toss you up there just because we're still warming up here, Slippy. Yeah, so the Dollars trilogy, right? So you guys seen us do a fistful of dollars. You've seen our Yokimbo and Kurosawa coverage. We told you guys we would try to get... What up, Pixie? We told you guys we would try to get to the rest of the Dollars trilogy. So it's followed up with For a Few Dollars More. I kept calling it A Few More Dollars, guys. Like I had that stuck in my head. But it's like the film's called For a Few Dollars More. And obviously you guys know what the third entry in the franchise is, the most celebrated, the most fanfare, the most hyped. So another spaghetti Western, another directed by Sergio Leone, Italian Western legend. You can watch this free on YouTube. You can watch it free on Tubi. It's on Prime Video. I'm not sure if it's a rental or streamed. Pixie's going to be happy. I don't know. He was wearing the poncho in this one, Pixie. I don't think he took too many layers off, so you don't need to start noticing things about him in this film. And what else is it on? Yeah, a few other things. So get out there, check it out if you haven't seen it. So 1965, I think it drops in the U.S. in 67, guys. I don't know if you happen to see the UK release or if that's on the wiki. 2 hours, 12 minutes for a few dollars more. So now let's do the genres, then we'll do synopsis. So one person army action, you know, me and Gaz's favorite genre, spaghetti Western, drama Western. Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's a little bit more drama in this one, Gaz. There's definitely more acting. Yeah. Me and Gaz will get into it because you were saying earlier on, Gaz, that you thought you might like this better than one. I thought the pacing in one was actually a lot better than this. Could you make the argument that the directing is better in this one? I think Sergio Leone probably perfected the angles and the camera work, so that's definitely a debate that I could see. And synopsis: 2 bounty killers. They called them bounty killers back then. I don't know if that's a spaghetti Western thing. Bounty hunters, bounty killers. 2 bounty killers with similar intentions but different motivations team up to track down a psychotic Mexican outlaw before he and his gang can carry out an audacious bank robbery. The bank robbery, absolutely sick, guys. The heist element, absolutely sick. I think that is the 2 elements that they turned up for one, adding the heist of the bank robbery, and then also I'm sure Gaz will have a deeper exposition on him, but Colonel Douglas Mortimer, Lee Van Cleef. I mean, he's a Western legend, so I mean that's you know, it was a tough one having 2 leads that strong, because I honestly thought that Lee Van Cleef's performance was so good that it honestly did outshine some of Eastwood. I mean, Eastwood has like 30 or 40 of these kind of cigar smoking, gunslinging roles. So I mean, he's obviously the legend, the creator of the archetype. But this Colonel Mortimer is so badass that, you know what I mean, it really he's right there with the Eastwood level performance, if maybe not edged him, at least in this film, and thus I feel like that kind of overshadowed Manco in parts. You know what I mean? We could see what Gaz thinks. Okay, it's not how you wear the poncho. It's not what you wear. It's how you wear it.
It's the stride and swagger with it.
Pixie's more interested in what's underneath the poncho, but that's another story. So, Red Cloud, what up? How many times are you going to ask him that, Red Cloud? Pretty sure that one's come up before, but anyway, you need to take those queries over to Mashinobi. Also, I saw Clown in a cornfield in the cinema. Pretty entertaining. Reminded me of early 90s horror. Yeah, me and Gaz have talked about it. I still haven't made it to Ballerina. I want to try to make it to Ballerina either today or tomorrow. And I don't care if Ballerina is good or bad. I'm just a John Wick fanboy, and I just want to see what John Wick does in it. So that's where I'm at on that one. Marduk, I think you mentioned that before, right, guys?
Yeah, Black Metal Band, yeah.
Thought so. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. We can jump right into plot, guys, or whatever whatever your initial.
Yeah, let's jump right into plot. Oh, before that though, did you like the opening? The guy riding a horse. Sure, and then I thought that was pretty sick, but entertaining as well. Immediately hooked you in.
It was amazing. It's a bit like when we talked about the opening scene of Yokimbo, the opening scene of Fistful of Dollars. I think that was like Sergio. Now, I don't know if this plays into that, but I think we're going to butcher the Italian names. And if you guys saw what my actual last name is, being Sicilian, there's going to be an embarrassment. So if you're Sicilian, just fast forward this part. But I think it's Vincenoni is the writer, and he wrote it in 9 days, and Sergio was unhappy with that, so he had another dude rewrite. So I don't know if maybe that intro could be part of a rewrite. Who knows? But yeah. Also, Ennio Morricone's. So I do like the theme a lot. It goes right in line with the first movie's theme and the third movie's theme. But I also thought that this was the weakest score of the three. And Ennio Morricone is arguably probably one of my favorite composers of all time. The Dollars trilogy, The Thing. I mean, you can take him anywhere from the 50s to the 60s to the 80s, and he's an absolute legend. Yeah, it's a little hot out in the UK, so Gaz has his ballerina tutu on today. So...
yeah,
Toxic Avenger style. I could pull Toxie out. The Melvin tutu. It's kind of hot out here.
Well, you found out she's discovered what one of our secret projects is in the background. What we're going to be trying out for. So if you can find the link to the Paradigm Review Show OnlyFans on the Patreon. So it's just Gaz's solo. With a Stanbush soundtrack as well. Kumite on constant repeat.
There you go. Kumite. So I guess it's kind of hot down south. Colonel Mortimer was from the Carolinas. He just had a New Jersey accent.
And best shooter. Yeah, best shooter in the Carolinas as well. Now,
damn right.
Yeah,
damn right.
Back on topic.
Difficult.
Got slightly derailed.
As that may be.
That was it. Score. So I want to come in there though. It's interesting you say that. I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when we do that, we'll obviously be talking about the score because that's legendary, being covered a lot. However, in a few dollars more, Mortimer's Pocket Watch and Indio's Pocket Watch, well, the original one, I guess, because obviously Mancho shows up with the other one near the end. That sample or that little melody when a pocket watch is open, dude, that's been sampled so much in hip hop, metal, and everything, often on beats, just that little. So it's interesting in the second one, just that little melody for those few seconds has been sampled so much, pretty much probably equally just as much as the various lines from Hellraiser as well, which are absolutely all over. So I thought that was quite interesting out of the score compared to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, where Ecstasy of Gold has definitely been covered so many times, very famously by a very famous band as well. But in the second one, just that little melody, that's just been sampled so much. I always found that very interesting. Probably just bored people to death with that, but
no, I mean, so like you said in hip hop, so the Fistful, I've heard the Fistful theme, like by Loaded Lux. Me and Mac always listen to that song, Villas, and then obviously Kanye samples The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, but that's been sampled in many mainstream. Like, dude, Ennio Morricone, if the labels are paying out his cut for all those hip hop samples, that I don't know if he's still alive. I'm not sure. I need to look that up. But if he is, that dude must have been so rich from all the hip hop samples that came after he produced those soundtracks, because that dude probably didn't know what it. What up, Jeff? What? Thank you, brother. What do you want me to cover, my man? I'm gonna put you in on the credits on Zodiac Files episode 5 for crowd supporting.
There you go.
Hopefully that will. And Beastie Boys covered High Plains Drifter. So it's there's a lot of those. So yeah, like Gaz said, the opening scene. The man that many call Manco is a bounty hunter, a profession shared by former Army officer Colonel Douglas Mortimer. They separately learn that a ruthless, cold-blooded bank robber, El Indio, has been broken out of prison by his gang, who slaughtered all but one of his jailers. While Indio is murdering the family of the man who had captured him, he is shown to carry a musical pocket watch taken from a woman who had shot herself while he was forcing himself on her after he had murdered her husband. The incident has haunted Indio, and he smokes an addictive drug to cloud his memory. So yeah, I don't know if it ever specified what the addictive drug was, Gaz. Like, I took it to be like marijuana or opium. But yeah, I mean, those scenes, like, I will agree with whatever critics said that like Indio is the greatest Western villain of all time. Like his what up, Darkside? His just those close-ups of like his sweaty face with his beard while he like had that like introspective look on his face while smoking, and then that obviously like is the transition or foreshadowing to the flashbacks of him you know, remembering, postulating those crimes that he committed that he's still haunted by. He definitely has arguably the third or higher best performance in the film, right behind Lee Van Cleef. And to shout him out, as Gaz said, he's actually plays a villain in Fistful, Gian Mario Volante, El Indio, Indian. And I want to get into that because they call him a Mexican outlaw, but they also named him El Indio. So I don't know if that's like a racist thing. I didn't really gather if he's supposed to be a native Mexican or a native Mexican, which
he could be half native, half Mexican. You know, as there was many, so obviously still are. So it could be that. Yeah, appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah. I wish it would have, because it almost looked like you could see a herb in the joints. Like they're obviously like hand rolled cigarettes, but obviously he put a little something in there. Being Indio, got his spice on. So yeah, smokes an addictive drug to cloud his memory. So yeah, I mean there are some certain themes. Like I thought that theme worked really well. The watch thing, guys, I kind of felt like the watch theme went overboard in that, like it was cool how we're going to come to that climax scene, you referenced earlier when we were off air. But I did feel like some of those scenes were drawn out for like an almost 2-hour, 15-minute movie. I thought the pacing in Fistful was better. Granted, like there's 3 main characters in this one when there's probably less in the first one. And then there's also like, whatever you want to say, 20, 30 supporting characters in this film. So it's obviously going to stretch the narrative out more.
I can see where you're coming from. The first one, Fistful of Dollars, is definitely more action oriented. This one is more, it's not to the point where I'm going to dissuade people from watching it, where it's like some of the modern westerns where they are too slow and they're an absolute bore fest, and I do find them very hard to get through. I feel this is nicely balanced, so I'm a bit of the opposite to Ross in this. I like this one has more story for sure. I actually like that with the pocket watch, because it hinted at there's something tragic has happened. There's a reason why Colonel Mortimer is going after El Indio.
100%. Yeah,
so I like that
between Mortimer and Indio's victim.
I mean, I think this is definitely, it shows that relationship between Mortimer and Manco as well, their motivations, their interactions with the other characters. I mean, you're right, the 3 that shine, obviously Clint, Lee Van Cleef, and then El Indio as well. They are definitely the standouts. There is still some fairly other solid performance as well. The kid who's hustling when Mancho arrives in El Paso. That was quite funny actually, but we'll get to that.
There's some badass guys in Indio's band. There's
Yeah.
Groggy, played by
Yeah,
Luigi
yeah.
Castilli. There is Cuchillo, Aldo Sombrel.
Yeah.
Cuchillo
Yeah.
was sick too. I mean, that all kinds of comes in fruition post the heist sequence. But yeah, there's a yeah. I mean, it's a bit of an ensemble cast, if there is such a thing for a spaghetti western.
But interesting fact though, Ross, it does have some of the actors from A Fistful of Dollars, not just the guy you rightly shouted out who plays Ramon Rojo. Mario Brega, I think that's him actually. Aldo Sombrelli, Benito Stefanelli, Lorenzo Robeldo. They're all back. So it's interesting that they obviously liked working with some of the same actors.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes to that's very common, right? You see that with Kurosawa, you see that with Scorsese, you see that with Tarantino, Rodriguez. I think Sergio is one of those, like, you know, he's like, I mean, look where they're shooting. It's these massive outdoor natural sets in Spain. So if you're kind of a dude that can suit up and you can ride and you can deal with that sun, and he's worked with you, he's like, all right, this guy can deal with the hardships of the frontier, right? It's not the American West frontier, but it is, for lack of a better phrase, the European frontier. So I think if I had to guess, I'd say most of it comes to that. Like, he wants you to be battle hardened on set, right? If you can't do, 20 hours in that Spanish summer sun, then Sergio probably doesn't want you out there. And we'll get into some production stuff at the end if we have time. Indio plans to rob a bank of El Paso, which has a disguised safe containing almost $1 million. Manco arrives in the town and becomes aware of Mortimer, who had arrived earlier. He sees Mortimer deliberately insult the hunchback Wild, who is reconnoitering in the bank. I don't even know what that word means, guys. I got reconnoitering. I mean, I can figure it out. Yeah, for the context, I don't know if that's an Old West word. I've never heard that word in my life, and me and Gaz both had English backgrounds at times. Just
audible English.
But interesting phrasing from Wikipedia, rather. Whoever wrote that is apparently, a PhD linguist. Dude, that disrespecting Wild scene, absolutely hilarious, because he took his cigar and just everyone's facial reactions. His cigar is like in the Old West, like, oh, he took his cigar out of his mouth. They're definitely gonna fight. Like, that's like obviously like the cigar symbolism of the Old West. Like, everyone smoked back then. So and Mortimer smokes a pipe. So it was a bit of a play on asking him for a light. Like, Wild blows out Mortimer's match. He disrespects him, right? So in return, Mortimer takes his cigar out of his mouth and then lights his pipe with it. I mean, obviously, the setup was the first couple bounties that Manco was working on, and when he walked into the second one, hold on. Mortimer got the first guy, right? Because he pulled up and he got the poster.
He did, and he because that's when we're introduced. I said to Ross, to the sharpshooter, and I loved it when Mortimer took down the saddle on the horse, and you saw the rifles he had, and that massive pistol, man. What was huge, and we actually never saw him use it, but it was so big, and it's like, as I said, I really did get the sense of he was kind of like a Wild West Punisher.
Absolutely. Pistolier.
That was so good, man. The way he took the guy's horse out and then used his rifle, and absolutely fantastic.
Clearly a marksman, clearly a sharpshooter. So he shot him in the chest, and because of that, the dude was unable to land his shot. So he just kept missing on Mortimer. Mortimer kind of toyed with him until he expired him. And then I believe that was not mistaken. That was a bounty that Manco was going for. Then it introduces Manco going for Big Red in the saloon during the card game.
Yeah, because just to back up a little before that, Mortimer, it's one of the opening shots. He's on the train and he asks somebody, he's behind the Bible. and there's a guy when he takes the Bible down, the guy opposite gets intimidated. I think this is possibly where they have that. Yeah, they have the exchange. Is the train going to stop at this town? Blah blah blah.
Tulum,
blah.
I believe it was.
Yeah. A Mortimer pulls the emergency brakes, casually just walks off with his horse.
Yeah,
that was so
anyway.
good, dude.
So the conductor is like, "Hey, dude, you can't just go around pulling the emergency cord." And when Mortimer opens his jacket, it's just like guns galore. And he's like, "But anyway, have a nice night." Like, you're gonna say that to a clearly armed colonel. Yeah. You don't know.
And there's so many nice little touches, because this is when Mortimer then goes to the train master's office, and you see the wanted poster the first guy goes for, and it's had 3 extra zeros wrote on it. And of course, then that's when the guy goes into town, and the guy's after, escapes. There's a hilarious scene, where I'll just say he disturbs a close encounter, and he says, "The lady in there, sorry, ma'am," something like that.
He shoots through the wall. I was obviously surprised at how brazen, bro, you're a formal colonel and you just go around shooting through random doors or walls because you think there might be an outlaw behind it. That is some straight up cowboy. But also how the ticket salesman talked up the outlaw.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, nobody wants any part of him." And then he takes it off and rolls it up and puts it in his bag. And he's like, "Well, at least until now."
Until now, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a cool exchange. Obviously setting up the characterization of Mortimer. And then so obviously the Big Red, Manco confronts Big Red, and he walks in there, and he lights a stogie, and he essentially does the card trick of the card game. And what game is one dude gonna walk up to 5-6 gunslingers and just start dealing? He's smoking a stogie. He just takes over de facto dealer, and those guys are just going to let him do it mid card game.
And that's so entertaining how that scene plays out. Because when he strikes that guy, and it's clear, right, he's going to take him in, get the bounty. The sheriff, we're clearly, the sheriff is useless. The film shows us that the sheriff in this town is useless. And those 3 guys, who come into the saloon, so right, you're not taking them anywhere. And the way he just takes those 3 out, gang. And Red's gang, thank you, Ross. And Red is in the background there, crawling on the floor, and Manco is just shoots him in the background.
Yeah, he no look. So he spins around and quick draws the 3 guys through the saloon doors, and then he basically says he said something I'm gonna how do you want it? I'm gonna take you in alive for more money. But obviously Red goes for his pistol on the ground, and he he just no look shoots him in the back, and it's he's fine with the insinuation is he's fine with taking them in dead or alive, just doesn't care. Pretty sick setups to both characters before they eventually sets them up for a square off between the 2. Manco's lookout at the hotel inn, I guess the inn, is obviously the kid, so he's going to tip him every day. Hey, tell me every time a stranger you don't recognize comes in town. That kid was sick. And then he tells him obviously Mortimer is staying across the street. So right off the bat, it kind of pits the 2 against each other. Manco confronts Mortimer after the 2 have studied each other, each ascertaining that the other will back down. They decide to work together. Well, we can unpack that scene a little bit. So they square off in the middle of the street. I forget if they do something with the cigars or the tobacco again, but I know that Manco steps on his foot and rubs the boot on boot. Then when Mortimer does it back to him, Manco punches him in the face. It's you stepped on his shoe first. He did it back to you, and then you punched him.
But did you get the sense that whole scene was to set up the distance to test this guy's range?
Yeah, 100%.
The rifle. That's 100%. What I thought it was.
Yeah, so explain what Gaz was saying with that concept. So when Manco punches him, knocks him down, Mortimer's hat falls off, so he goes to pick up his hat. Manco shoots his hat 3 or 4 times every time he goes to pick it up until eventually he gets to a pretty far away shadow, and he misses. And then after he does that, Mortimer draws, he shoots Manco's hat off of his head, and he hits it with like the full clip, like in air, which is like arguably even a better shot than Manco. And I believe we were saying this, Gaz, in Fistful, he never really had anyone on his level, but right off the bat, like Mortimer is like as good of a shot as Manco, or better. So it pits together. Now he's finally encountered another bounty killer on his level, per se. And at this point, you still don't know if they're going to be with each other or against each other.
No, you don't. You don't, because the two hunters going after the same prey, as that's referenced in the movie, those words more or less. And what's good is Mortimer's, using his range, and the film suggests that, yes, Mortimer's going to be good at range. Clint is going to be better at pistol range. But as you rightly said, Ross, as the film progresses, we see that Mortimer is just as deadly in close range with a pistol as well. So arguably, if not the same or better than Manco, definitely.
Yep, absolutely. Which is kind of what me and Gaz were saying was, actually we were saying that about Sanjuro as well, which is interesting. It seems like a theme that carried on through kind of both trilogies, so to speak, even though Sanjuro is not a trilogy.
If folks clearly haven't guessed, it's probably pretty obvious, but Mortimer is my favorite character. In a few dollars more, I think he's awesome.
And by the way, leave in.
See you later, Jeff.
Lee Van Cleef is a legend, by the way, as Gaz said, and not just in Western. He's also in Escape from New York. So, obviously there's kind of a Western theme in the Carpenter sci-fis. So he has got a long legendary career. Obviously, shout out to him being essentially a legend. Actually, what's funny is during that scene, you have the kids hiding underneath.
Yes, with a commentary.
and when they're like checking each other and like stepping on each other's boots, they're like, "Hey, it's just like our games, except they have loaded pistols and they're about to start shooting at each other." So pretty crazy. So what that comes to is neither of them are going to back down. They decide to work together. It's an uneasy alliance. Mortimer persuades Manco to join Indio's gang and to get in between the two fires. Manco achieves this by freeing a friend of Indio from prison despite Indio's suspicion. So I'll tell you what is really sick. The scenes of is this you're talking about Van Cleef, I assume, Pixie? The scenes of Mortimer, Manco, and Indio's gang casing the bank, and they're all doing the countdown of the security detail. I mean, that is very nuanced, guys. Like, you should be surprised how far that carries on, like up until Heat, up until the modern heist films, Point Break, Heat, you name it, Dark Knight. That really sets the tone for casing, bank robberies, and it really carries on the heist genre.
Ahead of its time, Ross.
Way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time.
Yeah, that was excellent, especially where it moved from character to character during the countdown as well. And you've got everyone's perspective. And then the interesting kind of the exchange between Mortimer and Manco, where they're both observing, one's got the telescope and the other one's got the binoculars, I think, hasn't?
I think so.
Yeah. And can you get that close up of both of them seeing each other? I thought that was good as well.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, that's it's amazing. I mean, the chemistry between Clint and Van Cleef, it's probably
and the acting, to be fair, Ross, overall, I mean, we're talking about the standouts, but the acting was pretty decent. Yes, I know there's a lot of dubbing, but the bank in El Paso, they were pretty good in there.
Definitely,
even before that. So it's quite solid all around.
Indio's whole gang. I mean, he's almost got maybe 10 guys, and each guy does stand out. Whereas like the enemies in Fistful, aside from Indio being in both movies, they're good, but they also drop pretty quick as Clint just kind of mows them down, so they're kind of like stand-ins. But I felt like the gang was better fleshed out in this one. Each guy kind of had his purpose, and kind of had his own kind of distinguished personality.
And each guy was capable, showing you, look, these aren't the average villains. They are going to be more capable. And then they come up against Colonel Douglas Mortimer, played by Lee Van Cleef, Monko, obviously, Clint Eastwood, who are professional bounty hunters. And I think it is Klaus Kinski who plays Juan Wild, the hunchback guy with the blonde hair. Now, he's obviously quite a dangerous gunslinger in his own right, but he's not on the same level as Manco and Mortimer, as the film shows us in various scenes. So it's good that we are presented with that. There's always different levels. There's always a more deadlier person out there on both sides of the equation.
Absolutely. Well put. Well put. And I think, to be honest, I think Sergio's Dollars trilogy probably hits that note the hardest. Gaz and I would have to revisit some more of these Westerns to see, how they flesh out. So he frees one of Indio's boys kind of during the skirmish, and that's kind of the setup to get Manco into the gang. Indio sends Manco and 3 others to rob the bank in nearby Santa Cruz. Manco guns down. Okay, that confused me. I didn't realize that was another bank, because I did kind of I knew they were casing the one big safe, and so that I didn't realize they hit the other one as well. Definitely a couple things got by me in this film, but definitely revisit it, guys, if you haven't seen it. Indio sends Manco and the others to rob the bank in nearby Santa Cruz. Manco guns down the 3 bandits and sends a false telegraphic alarm. I also missed that. I don't know when he sent the I know they shot down the lines. I saw that part, guys.
Yeah,
but
that was now you've got me thinking, because I know he
there's a lot in there.
He ties up the guy in the chair after that. And kind of says, "Don't worry," gags him because he reports, as he's saying, he asks him to report that there's a robbery going on in El Paso, and he says, "I don't hear any gunshots." He's like, "Well, you will in a minute," and then gets him putting out the alarms, for all these for these raids happening. And now you've got me thinking, when that scene actually happened, because there's so much packed into this. You're right. There's even a reference. There's even a scene, where they show you kind of a recreation of the barbershop scene from the first one, with Clint taking out Manco, taking out some people. So even that's recreated as a nod to the first film. So it's packed full of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a bit of a Sergio Leone homage to himself, if you will. 3 and Manco guns down the 3 bandits and sends a false telegraphic alarm to ruse the El Paso sheriff and his posse. Okay, so that's what it was. He rerouted them, who ride to Santa Cruz. The gang blasts the wall at the rear of the El Paso bank and steals the safe, but is unable to open it. I mean, honestly, as Gaz said, ahead of its time, the heist was absolutely sick, guys. I mean, I know it's cliche to blow the wall of the bank open with the dynamite, and then lassoing the safe and dragging it out. I don't know about that. I like how they used the shelving to slide it across into the wagon. That was absolutely sick. Don't get me wrong. It was like as Gaz said, a state-of-the-art Wild West heist. Dude, that guard in there, Gaz, like those guards, like, so the dude is like eating the bread or the sandwich or whatever it was, and then he stands up with the rifle. He goes to the hole in the wall, doesn't get one shot off, and I don't know if that's Indio that put him down.
Yeah, it is.
Bro, you're guarding $1 million. You have one guy with a shotgun, and he gets iced by the first shot and doesn't even shoot. Like, what the hell was that?
Well, they couldn't. Maybe they just couldn't get the staff on that day, and they had to get in a part timer.
The guys got rerouted, as they said, but I'm like, maybe leave more than one guy with $1 million. Like,
yeah.
Did I ever send you that thing with that thing that was on Facebook, guys, from that 80s movie when it was like worst henchman ever, and that ninja was lock picking, and that guy ran down the hallway like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he threw the marbles, and the guy slipped and fell on the spikes. that was akin to what this guard did guarding the safe. Dude, bro was just like not up to the job description. This whole thing about them not being able to open the safe. Without obviously if you use the explosives, you're gonna mess up the notes. This was an amazing detail. I thought this worked really well, guys. You can kind of react to it. Groggy is angry when Manco is the only one to return from Santa Cruz, but Indio accepts Manco's version of events that thanks to Morton Timer having given Manco a convincing neck wound. And we'll get into what happens next. But so when he meets up with Morton,
he's attacked Ross for his criticism. Oh no! Welcome back. There we go.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, we're both a little glitchy today, guys. It is what it is. When he shoots him in the neck, Gaz, like, and he doesn't give him, like, he's like, "Hey, how are you going to sell that story to Indio?" Boom. You know what I mean? It's like, couldn't you have shot him anywhere, like the hand or the leg, or you know what I mean? But you went with the neck wound, which is
vital area, which could have actually if you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's way more dangerous because, like, okay, so that was another, like, you know, expert level marksman shot, but if that's off by a centimeter and it takes out his neck artery, he's not going to be able to explain the story to Indio because he's going to be dead. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I like how that's tied in a way later in the film where Indio he says to one of his crew that he knew Mancho was, as they would called it in this film, a bounty killer from the first moment he met him. So it's like I was onto him, because Mancho kind of makes a joke when he first when he breaks out a buddy of the gang, takes him back to the headquarters. This is just before they're planning the heist on the bank in El Paso, and Mancho makes like a joke when Indio asks him, you know, well, who are you? What's your relationship with blah 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 blah? And he's like, oh, I'll just take some of you out and take the bounty now. And there's a bit of an uncomfortable laugh, but in a way, he's saying, but that's exactly what he ends up doing as well.
Well, they bring him up. Someone questions him on it later. He goes, "Hey, when you made that," he's like, like, "Was that a joke?" And Manco was like, "Yeah, actually, no, it wasn't." And that's when he faces off with him. So, appreciate the likes, guys. Like, sub, share. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that he was like that confident to shoot dude in his neck and not give him a heads up, and then Manco was just like, "Yeah, whatever." Hey, appreciate it, Jeff. I got you locked in, brother. Credit on episode 5 and 6 of Zodiac Files main series. So that's the neck wound. The gang ride to the small border town of Aguila Caliente, where Mortimer, who had anticipated their destination, is waiting. Wild recognizes Mortimer, forcing a showdown that results in the Hunchback's death, whereafter Mortimer offers his service to Indio to crack open the safe without using explosives. We'll unpack that scene because it's the sequel to the beef of when Mortimer lit his pipe with Wild's cigar. So he's in the bar eating. Manco comes in with Indio's crew, and Wild recognizes him. I forget the smoker. He calls him the smoker, right?
Yeah.
He's eating. It looked like, I don't know, chili and bread or something. And Wild sits. Oh no, So he pretty much like requests the duel, right? He essentially requests the showdown. Indio has everybody stay out of it. Mortimer gets Wild on the quick draw, right? So that's how Wild dies, which we all kind of saw that coming. And then Indio sits down with him, starts eating out of his dinner order, and that's when Mortimer pitches him on the I can open the safe without using the detonation of the explosives. So up until this point, I think it starts like the pace starts tightening like around this sequence. You know, everything after the heist.
There's an amusing. I like the when they first approach the border town Caliente, and when Mancho says to, I think, Indio, kind of more or less, well, how are you going to see an example of my shooting, my marksmanship? Yeah. And Indio's right, just go in the town by yourself. And there's those three villains opposite him. And I think this is when Mortimer shoots down some of the apples or something in the tree that kid's trying to get.
They both do.
That was sick, dude. Yeah, they both do. That was sick, man.
That was dope. Good. The kids collecting apples, and they both like dump full clips, just like dropping all the apples for him. Yeah, I wanted to bust out my whiskey last night, Jeff. I didn't get to. I had to go get a matcha drink mid-movie to keep me up. Because I wake up early during the week for work. So let's see. Mortimer offers his services to Indio to crack open the safe without using explosives. Indio locks the money in a strong box and says the loot will be divided after a month. So this is like Mortimer and Manco pretty much infiltrating Indio's hideout. And he is a nuanced villain, guys. He's not like, yes, can't go wrong with the devil's lettuce or the god's lettuce, Pixie. I'm going to get into some later after I record my audios for Zodiac. Yeah, I'll get on my Indio, guys. I'll smoke a cigar with my sweaty beard, and I'll have retrospective thoughts about all the crimes I've committed haunting me. But yeah, he's a super nuanced villain, as Gaz was saying. Like he's not an idiot, which is kind of like the Western trope. He's just the dumbass bad guy that, the man with no name at some point is going to, headshot in the final shootout and obviously smoke him the showdown. Like Indio and his gang are very capable, as Gaz was saying. Manco and Mortimer break into the strong box and hide the money, only to be caught immediately after and beaten up. This was the GIF that I sent you of the gang laughing, Gaz.
Yeah.
So for two bounty killers that are like as intellectually advanced as these guys, as from every situation they've been put in, to get caught on the way out, I thought was a little bit cliche, Gaz, but like obviously the plot needs to go somewhere. So you know what I mean? Just nitpicking. It's, in terms of filmmaking, it's your res is a little bit low, Gaz. Do you want to try to refresh and rejoin?
Yeah, I'll do that.
I'll talk to you guys in the see if you can just refresh and rejoin. So we're discussing the two heroes, if you will, getting the money, guys, and then eventually they get caught by Indio's gang. But feel free to hit me up in the chat while we wait for Gazzy. If you guys have any random questions, I'll answer them during this lull. Shout out to Jeff. Appreciate the membership, brother. Click the join button to become a member. You can head over to Patreon and you can join for free with a Gmail. I see it. All right, brother, you're looking better.
Hey.
Got a little, so we're just at we're at the boys here, and how I was saying them getting caught was cliche, Gazzy.
Yeah, it was a little. I did think. I know they were obviously outnumbered, and they can write that's it. We've kind of we're for it now. And this is nitpicking again. I do think that, we do see Manchor kicks one off him. They would have threw a few more shots in there. Just one or two. I can't see both of them just taking that. They would have done one or two because these are very experienced, capable individuals. But you're right. I feel that was just set up to drive the plot forward. When you have got a film that's this good, yes, we are nitpicking, I guess, to find something that we can say, well, maybe here's a weakness.
And again, multiple writers, multiple rewrites. What happens when you have multiple rewriters is you do have plot holes and plot gaps. So that could be something that maybe it was something else in the original script, and then the new guy came in, and maybe that's like a leftover of, this stuff happens. Regardless, when you have Sergio Leone directing, it's just assumed that everything's going to be fine. And by the way, the movie goes on to make a lot of money. So immediately after, and also when Sanjuro gets beat up in Yokimbo, when Joe gets beat up in Fistful, this is also like a throwback to how they they at some point they always get captured and beaten them up. It becomes to be a bit of a dollars trope, which goes back to the original Yokimbo. So they beaten up. So the gang just stomps them out. Close up of El Indio laughing at them, getting stomped out, and then the rest of the gang. It's basically like facial reaction shots, as Pixie was saying. Each member's kind of has no remorse for the so-called. This is something that always comes up in these type of bounty killer movies. So the good guys, if you want to call them good guys, they're essentially serial killers, but. The good guys, for sake of this movie, they're getting paid to kill the bad guys, Mortimer has secured the strongbox lock. However, Indio believes that the money is still there. I didn't go into that either. The way that Mortimer lockpicked the safe that was so sick with pouring the liquid acid. I've never seen anything like that in a Western before. I don't know if this was the first time that happened or if this has happened in other films, but I was amazed by that. I thought that was genius, a bit of a chemistry element.
It might have happened in others, and I mean, we can look at some of those other classics as well, but maybe it was the first time that had happened to that point, kind of set the standard, which was pretty good, because there wouldn't have been just trying to blow everything up with dynamite all the time. There would have been somebody
not a million notes.
Yeah, exactly. There'd have been someone there who said, "Oh, hang on. We actually want the notes to be left. We want something salvageable." So yeah, really good.
Yeah, no, and it added more intellectual nuance to Mortimer as well. He's not just retired colonel. He's not just a marksman, sharpshooter. Also has some understanding of chemistry. Also has some understanding of even the lock picking that he was doing. That's a mechanical knowledge. So it's like it's giving multiple facets to his personality. Like not the kind of guy that you would want coming after you if you did something to his sister.
Definitely not.
Strongbox lock. However, Indio believes the money is still there. Later that night, Indio instructs his lieutenant Nino to use a knife belonging to Cuchillo to kill the man guarding Manco and Mortimer. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys. When Indio started busting out this, I think this is where Nolan got Joker killing off his own gang in that first 5 minutes of Dark Knight from, because he comes up with the plot to dispatch each guy to hold more of the money. Right? You see that parallel there, right? So that's the only thing I can even think of that I've seen of it. I'm sure other heist movies have done this in modern film that had a similar theme, because obviously like they're calling Indio psychotic, but you never really see him, other than the flashback, do anything really psychotic other than break out of jail and he's kind of torturing people or whatever till he starts doing this to his own gang. And then I was like, all right, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and also what's good, Ross, is not everybody in the gang falls for his ploy.
100%.
There is one person, so that's good that we aren't presented with just a kind of random crew of dumb villains who are there just to be dispatched. There are people, some of them who are mentally capable as well, and one of them is, and says to Indio, "Hey, your plan isn't going to fool me. I see through it." And I thought that was really good as well. But added in another dynamic, gives you a little bit of insight into the past history of this gang, maybe what they did, who was maybe involved with some of the planning of the other things they did. So that was pretty good.
Realism as well, because you're going to pull 10 guys with that, like one or two of them is going to be like, hold on, 7 or 8 of us just dropped. And it obviously can't be the 2 guys that we had outnumbered. You know what I mean? So nuance on that side, nuance on Indio's side of telling Cuchillo that he recognized the bounty killers immediately, like Gaz said. And that made a lot of sense, because the whole time I'm trying to figure out, why is Indio going to let them heist them after they did the heist, right? But his plan is, well, the bounty killers got away. They started killing you guys, and that's an excuse to kill off the rest of them to try to keep the notes. So I don't know which writer came up with that, if that was in the original script or if that was the rewrites, but that was, like Gaz was saying, this is when the plot started to pick up. And Jeff with a bit of the acid facts here. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking. Fairly quick. Yeah, no, I was trying to think of that too. Sulfuric acid, as you said. And then I was trying to think of that too, because that's definitely been in other movies as well. So I was trying to get, if anybody can Google that, hit us up in the chat. Later that night, Indio instructs his lieutenant Nino to use a knife belonging to Cuchillo to kill the man guarding Manco and Mortimer. Once Nino has freed the prisoners, Indio reveals that he knew that they were bounty hunters all along and executes Cuchillo for supposedly betraying the gang. And I was also trying to figure out why Cuchillo did that, Gaz, but it was because Indio told him to. What I mean? It was like, that was interesting, for supposedly betraying the gang. And Indio orders the rest of his men to bring back Manco and Mortimer, hoping they will all kill each other and he and Nino can split the money just between themselves. However, Groggy realizes the scheme, and after killing Nino, forces Indio to open the strongbox, which is found to be empty. Eventually, after he and Manco kill the bandits, Mortimer calls out to Indio while revealing his full name. This is getting to the final shootout here. Mortimer shoots Groggy as he runs for cover, but is disarmed by Indio, who plays the pocket watch while challenging the bounty hunter to regain his weapon and kill him when the music ends. So this scene, genius, guys, beautiful, excellent use of music. What the watch represents, the symbolism of the connection between Mortimer to his family member, well done. I just felt that the pacing dropped and it was a bit drawn out. First you have Indio playing the watch, then Manco walks out playing to the watch, and we'll break down this scene, but like I kind of felt like Manco just kind of sat back, and based on what we saw from Joe in the first movie, I don't know if Manco would do that. You know what I mean? I don't know if he'd be willing to just be like, I know he's going to let Mortimer settle the personal beef, but I think he might have been a little bit more active, which is kind of like what you see in that final shootout of the good. But yeah, break it down from your perspective.
Yeah, I guess I can see your point. If we're going to base it on Joe from the Fistful of Dollars, Manco is essentially from what we know, essentially the same character. Yeah, he could have just took the guy out, or it would have been nice, I suppose, if I'm being ultra picky here, for him to have kind of a final shootout with someone, but it didn't bother me, actually. I know we're going to be opposites here. I actually like this better than A Fistful of Dollars. I prefer the story arc. I like that connection Mortimer has to his sister.
I see what you're getting at, yeah.
Because you hear that in the pocket watch, that melody. It embodies that the tragedy that happened. It's got that sadness to it. It makes you want to know more about Mortimer. It gives you a whole reason why this guy's after Indio.
Actually, no. Money, which is what the whole movie's been telling.
And I thought it was excellent, because it looks like Indio at that point is going to get the upper hand, and then of course, Manco arrives with his pocket watch, and
the bait and switch is sick. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like in terms of sequentially, insane, absolutely insane. And obviously, I love Mortimer.
Yeah, well, he's my favorite. Yeah, he's my favorite character in this. And what's good is after Mortimer defeats Indio, and this, him and Manco stood over him, and Manco says, there's a family resemblance there. When Mortimer's opened the pocket watch, says it's his sister. You're given an explanation for that flashback, because it's obviously a family member. There's some connection there. So we're wondering, what's happened here. But they don't go. It's just a few short lines, but it says enough. And then, of course, to have that comic exchange, which we'll break down in a moment, which is hilarious.
That's like Sergio always ends them like this, where it's like, hey, there's a pile of dead bodies. Happy ending. He made a bunch of money. He's gonna ride into the sunset. I'm like, there's like 10 dead bodies.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it now, dude. When Mancho is piling the bodies up on the car and he's counting them, like, this one's worth 2,000, and he's like, And that guy comes running behind him, and Mancho just takes him out. And then Mortimer's like, boy, we're having trouble there, and he's like, I think it was just something with my adding, but it's
a math problem.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that was that ending. I'm like, okay, whatever writer wrote that line is obviously a genius. So let's break the fight down a little bit, because for the audience, we didn't really go into it. So
sorry, folks.
Mortimer's extended. He fires the pistol with the extended rifle, but it's knocked to the ground during the discrepancy. It's a bit like that hat foreshadowing early on when he met Manco, and Indio setting him up for when he goes for his pistol, he's just going to shoot him before he could pick him up. Obviously, he's the bad guy. That's obviously what he would do. Fine. Appreciate you, Dark Side. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you, Dark.
Shout out. So Manco steps out. He puts his belt and his pistol on Mortimer, and this is what Gaz was referring to earlier. So when the song stops and they need a quick draw, obviously they've set Mortimer up since his first scene in the movie that he's just like pretty much like he's a crack shot, right? Yeah. He completely smokes Indio. Honestly, guys, it was awesome, and Indio is one of the best Western villains of all time. I would have liked a little bit more of a tragic, dramatic, romantic death scene for Indio, just because
he was taken out a bit too quickly then.
Yeah, and I would have like, not that he was taken out too quickly, but just like more from his death, like maybe like a Roy Batty Blade Runner monologue, you know what I mean? Like a couple more lines from him, just because you know, he did such good acting with the smoking, the drug, and the introspective, going back into maybe another flashback. Like the last thing he thinks of what he did to his sister. You know that, and again, if anyone from Sergio Leone's staff sees this, you're gonna think like Ross is the idiot on a YouTube channel. But you know, if I had $1 million, if I had him and his idiot co-host, if I had millions of dollars to recreate A Fistful of Dollars, I would probably just. Now, I'm sure they felt like they did enough with the lockets and the pictures of his sister, but what I would have did was maybe just had the last thing he sees is Mortimer's sister, and then like a fade out of her face into his face to actually, instead of them telling you in dialogue that there's a resemblance, actually show it to you.
Showing you as well. So going along that theory that they always have with authors, the show not tell.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And again, the film did fine, guys. It doesn't need me to step in and redirect a remake. It did fine. You know, you guys have all seen where the Dollars trilogy went and made millions and millions of dollars. Yeah. So for me to even bring this up is probably blasphemy in the Western genre. But after that, and you know, honestly, maybe a little bit more from Mortimer too, because he kind of rides off kind of quick after Manco says, you know, there's a resemblance, like you said. He says, by the way, you get all the money. And Manco's like, you don't want any of the bounty? And he's like, yeah, but it's never about that for me. Yeah. He just bounces. And still he looks back because was that Groggy hiding behind the
that's what I was referring to. Something wrong with my adding, yeah.
So Manco was tallying up the bounties, about 10 dead bodies, 22, 27. Groggy pops up, tries to shoot Manco in the back. Manco turns around, quick draws, smokes Groggy. Yeah. Mortimer riding away on the horse. Hey, is everything okay?
Yeah, I was having trouble with my adding.
Adding up. I was having trouble with my
hilarious.
Those grindhouse dark comedy dialogue, you can't beat that.
Well, yeah, and that's hilarious. And I do like the way Lee Van Cleef, aka Mortimer, even just uses this simple word in the movie where he says naturally. You know, as you said, that conversation between him and Manco, when Manco sees the picture in a pocket watch, says quite the family resemblance, and then, you know, Mortimer replies with naturally between brother and sister.
Yeah.
His delivery was excellent, and then he says, you know, Manco, he's just a Manco, right? You know, all the money is yours. More or less, well, yeah, all the money's yours, you've earned it. Manco says, you know, what about our partnership? Maybe another time, kid. And then he's riding off, and then we get the scene as we both reference and just describe. Yeah, he does kind of just ride off, I guess, but maybe, in our defense, because the film is so good, I think that's why we probably are coming across maybe as a little picky, because it's trying to look for some weak points, and there aren't many. There really aren't.
And again, I'd chalk up almost everything we mentioned to probably the rewrites. Like up to this is probably down to like 9 out of 10 times this is rewrites. I like what Fire Pixie said. I thought maybe he wasn't dead when Mortimer went for the locket. He was going to try to shoot him again, but then Mortimer would have had the kill shot. And slightly cliche, but I like that, Pixie. That would have been sick, you know.
I think on a first watch, anyone who sees it first watch would automatically think that. You would, thinking, right, it's only going to go over, kill shot, or would it possibly that where Manco's going to come in and take Indio out?
That's what I was expecting, because obviously in Good, Bad, and the Ugly, they all three square off in that circle. So this is kind of foreshadowing to that final fight in Good, Bad, and the Ugly. It's a similar type. I mean, the set is ridiculous. It's kind of a semicircle with the stone things, and then also those panaways. It's a bit like that ending of Yokimbo and Fistful, with the crosses and piling up the dead bodies. I mean, I guess that's a Sergio Leone trope, if you want to call it that. But Manco has this massive wagon of dead bodies of Indio's entire. Well, he goes and grabs Indio's body, throws it in the pile, and then I guess he grabs Groggy last because he quick drawed him. Rides away. It tries to give you some like happy Sergio Leone, Ennio Morricone music. Like, you've just watched a 2-hour bloodbath. Tune in next time. I wonder how many people they're going to kill in the third one. Just part of the genre, guys. And then when he pulls up to the tree, guys, and he pulls out the money in the bag, I would have liked to have him look in the bag to check the money, because at that point anybody could have swapped it.
Yeah, so it's actually still
there. You guys know me with my Point Break mask over here, so I'm always thinking of the heist, you know, the Dark Knight intro, the heist twist. So that's like I'm just paranoid from watching too many heist movies, but obviously this is a straightforward Western. He killed everybody and he got the money. That's what bounty killing is. So
let me ask you this real quick, and we'll get into some things like this with the film in a moment. Mortimer and Manco in the film, did they come across to you? And I'm probably stating the obvious here, literally like Ronin from a samurai movie, because they did to me.
Yeah, that didn't occur to me. I'll say this, that didn't occur to me as much in this one as it did with Fistful, because obviously when you and I reviewed Fistful, we had just watched Yokimbo and Sanjuro, so like the samurai genre was fresh in my mind. I try to just watch this one as like more of a Sergio Leone spaghetti Western sequel.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially the way they both rode up and the way they both left. They left on their own. They didn't leave together. And then also the way they had that showdown in the streets of the town, that was very samurai-esque. So yeah, it's there. And I have to assume that Sergio Leone would have watched the Kurosawas before he did any of these. So and again, maybe I'm way off on that. I'm sure someone asked him in an interview. You have to look into that. So yeah, there's not okay. So where are we? Regain his weapon and kill. As the music ends, the same tune begins from an identical pocket watch that Manco pilfered from Mortimer. Manco gives his gun belt and pistol to Mortimer, saying, "Now we start." When the music ends, Mortimer shoots first, killing Indio. See, it essentially insinuates that like Manco picked up that Mortimer had that personal vendetta against Indio. But also Mortimer never told him, so you have to assume that Manco figured that out from the watches and the music, which is fine. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, like me and Gaz were saying, you don't need to explain everything with a paragraph text on screen. Manco, yeah. So obviously Manco asks for his belt back. Mortimer retrieves the watch. Did I already say the resemblance to the woman in the vignette photo? Reveals that he is her brother, and apparently in the Spanish dubbing it was father. Maybe they got that wrong. I don't know.
Right.
This revenge complete, declines the share of his bounty and leaves. Manco tosses the bodies of Indio in the wagon, finally adding Groggy's body after killing him. Rides off to collect the bounties on them all, briefly pausing to recover the stolen money from its hiding place. I could talk about development. There's not that much production, guys. Post-production. I don't know where you guys want me to go with it. Music.
Yeah, let's go that. Let's go with development, then we can get into music.
Box office success of Fistful. Sergio and his new producer Albert Grimaldi went to begin production of a sequel. Clint didn't get involved until he saw an Italian version because he didn't know how the first one came out yet. Apparently they approached Bronson in the first one, guys, so they approached him again. But he thought the script sequel was too similar to the first one, so that's why they got Lee Van Cleef. Interesting that they offered that to Bronson.
Which is interesting because as I put the question in earlier for folks, Clint turned down Once Upon a Time in the West, and that's the one Charlie Bronson did. So interesting.
Yeah, it's like a switcheroo there. With that's how westerns are. Similar actors, similar genre. The screenwriter Luciano Vincenzoni wrote this film in 9 days. However, Leone was dissatisfied with some of the script's dialogue and hired Sergio Donati to work as an uncredited script doctor. So, rewrites. Production, it was shot in Tabernas, Almeria, Spain, with interiors done at Rome's Cinchanita Studios. The production designer, Carlos Simi, built the town of El Paso in the Almeria Desert. It still exists as a tourist attraction, mini Hollywood. Oh, dude. If I ever go to Tuscany, guys, actually that's Spain, right? If I ever go to Tuscany, guys, you like Spain too, dude. If we go down there, live action blog on set, me and Gaz on Hollywood out there. The town of Aguirre Caliente, where Indio and his gang flee after their robbery, was filmed in Los Albaricus, a small Pueblo Blanco on the Niger plain.
Do you think that's quite an interesting name for a town as well? Aguirre Caliente, what art?
Yeah, yeah. And again, maybe that's part of the whole Western trope, a bit of a oasis. As all the film's footage was shot on MOS without recording sound at the time of shooting, Eastwood and Van Cleef returned to Italy, where they dubbed over their dialogue and sound effects were added. Although it is explicitly stated in the movie that Colonel Mortimer character is originally from the Carolinas, Van Cleef opted to perform his dialogue using his native New Jersey accent rather than a Southern accent. I think that was the right call. I don't want to hear Van Cleef try to do a Southern accent when he's from Jersey, unless he has it down I don't know. They're tough to do. I mean, a lot of people think it's like, most of those Southern actors, like for instance, Matthew McConaughey, they go through a lot of speech coaching to try to get rid of their Southern accent when they're playing a non-Southern role. And then it's like it's hard for them to turn it back on again.
Well, some regional dialects, even from wherever you are in the world, can be very hard, as you know. Ross, you can do a better UK Southern accent than I can. I can't do it. You can. I can't.
I've watched a lot of UK films. So it's good.
I always end up sounding Australian if I try.
You do. And also Gary Oldman, famous for American accents, famous for New York accents. Talking about speech coaches, he said that he messed up his so bad that like he could hardly do British after all the different characters he played. I heard him do Russian. He's played a million villains. He's literally an accent genius.
Well, dude, when you think about it, when these actors are doing like method acting, and they we've heard interviews and stories of them talking in that accent non-stop to get it right in their daily lives, and it's very hard then to go back to their native dialect. It's kind of like the brain has to kind of rewire itself, adjust again. The same even when they've been playing a role sometimes, and they get invested that much in that role, it can make some people ill. I read about a guy called Jeremy Brett who featured in one of the Sherlock Holmes TV series, and apparently from what I was reading, that guy actually got ill because he did a very dark, sinister version of Sherlock Holmes, and it kind of took over him. So it's, I think, that could quite easily happen.
Yeah, see, Pixie gets it. She's from Wisconsin. She goes back. They call her a Southern Belle. Down here, they say she talks like Northern.
Yeah.
How it goes. That's how it goes, Pixie.
Yeah.
Music, score composed by Ennio Morricone, who previously collaborated with director Leone on A Fistful of Dollars. Under Leone's explicit direction, Morricone began writing the score before production had started, as Leone often shot to the music on set. And I think I heard Tarantino does that as well. I have to assume that's a page you took out of Leone's book.
Yeah.
The music is notable for a blend of diegetic and non-diegetic moments through a recurring motif that originates from the identical pocket watches belonging to El Indio and Colonel Mortimer. The music that the watch makes transfers your thought to a different place, said Morricone. The character itself comes out through the watch, but in a different situation every time it appears. I mean, think of how intelligent that is for the composer to say that about the film. All he literally made was the music, and yet he knows that. That's interesting.
So I'm going to say this now. So if in modern film, they cannot seem to grasp at times the ability to show you character background without overusing terrible effects, everything has to be popcorn filler, when at that time they didn't have the same technology that we have, and they could use something like that to really give you that wide arc on a character. Come on.
Don't get me started, because you don't have talented composers anymore. It's a lack of originality. You know what I mean? You don't have composers working side by side with the director like that anymore. Now, Hans Zimmer did do that for Dune Part 2 with Denis Villeneuve, but I mean, that's like one of the only modern examples I can think of.
There's not many, I'm
sure there's others, but you want to take over for a sec, guys? I just want to grab my water.
Yeah, all good, man. So as I was just saying there, I thought it was very interesting to use that with the pocket watch to give us that wide arc on the character. The melody definitely transported you to another time, so totally go along with that. Very, very interesting points there. Apparently as well, a soundtrack album was originally released in Italy by RSC Italiana, and in the States, Hugo Montenegro released a cover version, as did Billy Strange and Leroy Holmes, who released a cover version of the soundtrack with the original poster art. Maurizio Graf sang a vocal, Occhio per Occhio, an eye for an eye, to the music of the cue 60 Seconds to Walk. Graf's performance did not appear in the film, but was released as a tie-in on 4-5 RPM Records. Interesting. And all the tracks were also wrote by Ennio Morricone. The amount of... It's always interesting, Ross, to discover and read about everything connected to these films. That there's so much to it, even that didn't make it, even in terms sometimes of soundtrack or the final cut.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, it's kind of winding down in the chat, guys. So we'll kind of wind down with you guys. But box office for A Few More Dollars was released in Italy on 30 December 65. The film proved to be even more commercially successful than its predecessors. By 67, the film became the highest grossing film in Italy with a gross of 3.1 billion lire, 5 million American. It looks like almost 15 million admissions. I guess that's what they call ticket sales in Italy at the time. The film opened in Spain 17 August 66 as La Muerte, with a bunch of Spanish words that Gaz can fill in for us.
The highest,
yeah, thank you. The highest grossing Spanish film of all time with a gross of 272 million pesetas, equivalent to 4.53 million in 66. It was the 7th most popular film in France in 66 for a total of 10.5 mil. US, it debuted on May 10th, 67, 4 months after the release of Fistful, earning 5.5 mil in rentals. It grossed a total of 20 million in the US and Canada, adding a total of 25.5 mil gross worldwide.
Nice.
Critical reception initially received mediocre reviews from Bosley Crowther of the New York Times. He said the fact that this film is, I mean, this is kind of what I was saying earlier, guys, but it's nice to get, like, I love these, like, you know, there's probably like some conservative douche. The fact that this film is constructed to endorse the exercise of murderers to emphasize killer bravado and generate glee and frantic manifestations of death is, to my mind, a sharp indictment of it as so-called entertainment in this day. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times described the film as one great old Western cliche after another and said that it is composed of situations and not plots, but nonetheless found it delicious. Its platitudinous character immediately laid open to parody, and one followed in the same year as Lando Bazanakas for a few dollars less. We should check that out sometime. That sounds funny. The film has since grown in popularity, also gaining more positive feedback from contemporary critics. Rotten Tomatoes 92%, Rotten Tomatoes bleh. The website's consensus reads, with Clint Eastwood in the lead, Ennio Morricone on the score, and Sergio Leone's stylish direction, For a Few Dollars More earns its recognition as a genre classic. In a retrospective review of the Dollars trilogy, Paul Martinovic of the Den of Geeks said, this is what I was telling you earlier, guys, For a Few More Dollars is often overlooked in the trilogy, awkwardly sandwiched between both the original film and the best known, but it's a stunning film in its own right. Paulo Sardinas of MovieWeb, Eastwood gives it his all and turns in another iconic performance along with scene stealer Lee Van Cleef, who helps make For a Few Dollars More twice as good as its predecessor. Like I said, I could see that argument with the two legendary actors. The film historian Richard Schnickel, in his biography of Clint Eastwood, believed that this was the best in the trilogy, arguing that it was more elegant and complex than A Fistful of Dollars, more tense and compressed than The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. The director, Alex Cox, considered the church scene to be one of the most horrible deaths of any Western, describing Volante's Indio as the most diabolical Western villain of all time. The journalist Kim Newman said that the film changed the way bounty hunters were viewed by audiences. It moved them away from a profession to be ashamed of, one with a ranking lower than a card sharp on the Western scale of worthwhile citizens, to one of heroic respectability. So yeah, you know, it's an interesting bounty killer, bounty hunter. Question, Greg. I don't really know. I think with the success of the first movie, you know, they kind of went in that direction.
Well, apparently, I just looked it up. It said not originally. Though the first two are somewhat viewed as loosely connected, and arguably you could say Clint is kind of the same character in each movie, you know, up to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly as well. It says they share some thematic elements like anti-heroic central character, distinct visual style, and his casting choices. Also, there's another scene which people forget. There's the church scene, as you just described, Ross. Yep. Well, there's an earlier scene where you aren't shown it, but where he's interrogating somebody to find out some information, and he takes out the guy's wife and child It's the scene where he says, "You used my time." Remember, there's that line. He asks, "How old is your son?" 18 months. Well, that's the time I was in prison. I was inside. And you hear, I'll just say you hear the shots, but that really does set up to demonstrate further just what a diabolical villain Indio is.
Yeah, that's grimy. It's basically his like crime spree breaking out of jail.
Yeah.
Sets up a lot of the story, Indio story arc and characterization.
So I've got to ask you this. I've been wanting to ask you this throughout the review. I think everyone knows who my favorite character is in this one. Would yours still be Manco?
In this one, I think I'm probably going to give it to Indio because I already had seen, I already seen Joe, aka Manco, in the first one, and I've seen several Clint movies, so I knew what he was going to do. And anyway, there's a reason why Clint is the lead in the trilogy and all the, the whole, you could argue the whole genre of the spaghetti westerns. He's a legend, but leaving Cleef, kind of steals the show with Mortimer, and then I think Indio finally brings like the psychoticness, he brings the intellect, the nuance to a villain that we've never really seen before in the Western genre. And I thought, I mean, we saw him in the first one, but I think this El Indio role developed him a lot more, to be a formidable enough adversary against not just Manco, but Mortimer as well. Now he's adverse to two main characters, not just one. So it's more complicated, right?
Yeah, mine was definitely Mortimer. I just thought he stole the show. His presence, his expressions, love the character. He had that menacing edge, which is, I think, what they did with him when he returned in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which we will cover for you folks. They took that menacing, ruthless side and went 100% with it to present us with a really killer villain. I think it's Angel Eyes in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. To answer your question, Greg, so although he's primarily known for his Western action films, he starred in a TV series called The Master. And dude, I forgot about this. Yeah, he appeared in The Octagon with Chuck Norris.
Nice.
In The Master, he played an American ninja master. Now it says, why was I just reading this? It says, I've got his styles that he trained in. While not extensively documented as a lifelong martial artist, Van Cleef did train in various disciplines, including, I'm going to butcher this, folks, Sanusi's Ryo Jiu-Jitsu, Shotokan Karate, and Ninjutsu. So, yeah, you're on it, Greg. You're on it.
Nice one, brother. We'll go check out our review with Greg, Game of Death, and we talked a bit about that Game of Death crap fest that basically got copy pasted together when Bruce Lee was no longer with us, and then what the original Bruce Lee work was, and even some of that kind of lost footage, so to speak. I am going to post for a few more dollars Sizzle, Arrow Video, who we talked about in the last review with Greg, I think they put out the 4K version of Dollars, nice. And they posted like a sick Sizzle on YouTube. So I'll post that in lieu of the trailer below in the description. Not much else going off. We're off next week, guys. It's my birthday, so me and guys are going to chill. We're going to take the weekend off, but we are going to be back the week after that. Invasion USA, Pixie, you wanted it. You got
Finally.
It. You threw down. I didn't need to push it back for 2 months. We just had some things in the schedule. Like sometimes I had work events, sometimes Gaz did. So the things got pushed back a little bit in the schedule. So speaking of Chuck Norris of the Octagon, Invasion USA, maybe I'll try to do something else for like my patron next week in lieu of the review. Maybe I'll try to do like Deadliest Prey or something just for fun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Those movies are absolutely hilarious. So once we get Invasion USA knocked out of the way, that opens up me and Gaz to do Avenging Force when we get around to it.
Yes.
Want to do more Westerns. And then I want to start bringing up some of the Zodiac Goes to the Movie series. So Rampage, obviously the Badlands, things like that. So I want to get some of those going while you guys wait for these Zodiac episodes to come out.
Yeah, the Alienist is supposed to be good as well. I think set in Victoria, New York. I only have caught one episode and it was good, so maybe that's something we could look at, folks. You might be interested in that because it brings in kind of Ross's kind of true crime area as well. I mean, I'm not saying it is true crime, but it's detective kind of based. Yeah.
Stuff. Was he? Well, we'll find out in 2 weeks on the 28th when we do Invasion USA. I forgot the name of my own channel here on Paradigm Review Show on PX. So, we'll finally get Chuck on, and I'm sure there'll be other Chuck movies we want to do. Probably bring Greg back for something too. Maybe Showdown, a little Tokyo. Do some.
Oh yes, has to be. Yeah.
Definitely get that going. So I think that's it. Like, sub, share. Head on over to Mosh Shinobi. Give guys a sub. You can click join if you want to have a membership. If you want to donate, either join the membership or join Patreon or donate to the PayPal, Cash App, Venmo for our expenses for the trip coming up in 3 weeks to Northern California, Vallejo, Benicio, when we shoot the main series, Zodiac Files, episode 5 and 6, Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs, and of course our ratings. 10 out of 10. Yeah. Pixie.
I'm the same. Well, I'm going to say 10 out of 10. There we go. It's not happened very often, but 10
Jazz is done 10 out of 10. It has an 8.2 on IMDb. I gave it a 9 out of 10. You can watch it free on Tubi, YouTube, possibly on Prime. And that kind of opens us up to do Good, Bad, and the Ugly when the time comes. So Gaz and I will kind of reconvene and try to get some stuff going. I think we have some Kurosawa in the mix. I definitely want to get some more martial arts going, whether that's Striking Rescue when I put it on. We'll get that for Gaz, and then Diablo just came out. Scott Atkins has like a new theater that we haven't shot. So there's those. I'll get to the theater for Ballerina. Feel free to put recos in the chat or in the comments. 9 out of 10. Of course, the Dollars trilogy is absolutely insane. So when we get around to it, we'll do Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Feel free to hit me up on email if anyone's trying to reach me, or on X. And like I said, we're taking next week off for my birthday, but I'll probably do, maybe if I get around to it, something on Patreon. And then pretty soon we'll have, Deadliest Prey, Avenging Force, and some more Most Dangerous Game content. I did hear that Michael Bisping is doing a new one called The Gambit. I don't know if there's a trailer.
Yeah, I saw that. That could be worth a look.
So that could be in the mix of our Most Dangerous Game series. So Zodiac goes to the movies, coming soon. More Sergio Leone, more Kurosawa, some Chuck Norris, some more martial arts, and maybe some Tony Jaa. And that's it. Paradigm.
What about Sidekicks, Chuck Norris, one of your favorite movies?
Which one?
Sidekicks, Chuck Norris, one of your favorites.
Yours is knockoff with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Rob Schneider.
yeah, we got this one.
I don't know why you try me. You always know I'm going to have a retaliation.
But it's just funny. I decided to see what the comeback is.
Of course, I was looking through Tubi, and they had just all these Seagal pieces of crap, and I was I got to keep these in mind for next time Gaz comes at me. Let me dig deep in here and find some trash.
Dude, I know I said it on one of the shows and somebody covered it, but there was one he did. My man, he was literally sat on the chair.
I heard about that.
Fighting this guy, it was terrible.
Yeah,
it was funny but terrible. And your boy who keeps getting mentioned, who you've told me about many, many times, I keep forgetting. Gary Francis Post goes to the movies, right?
Yeah, no.
Whoever that is.
Terrible Zodiac suspect. It's just he's essentially a random guy. That's what I refer to.
Okay.
But yeah, guys. So again, if you want to throw down, get your donations in. Ideally, send me a message somewhere. If you do send a donation in on PayPal, I think there's a note section. Just either your name or what you want to be credited on the shout out, and then those crowdfunders will be in the credits of Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs, the next 2 episodes of the main series. So we're working on pre-production now.
I want to shout something out for them. Maybe we can cover this. So Greg, this is one for you as well, one for everybody. There's a Korean martial arts crime action series on Netflix at the moment. It's called Mercy for None. It's a limited series. It is good. It is so entertaining. It's fantastic. Seriously, Greg, it's one I recommend. I really enjoyed it. It's only 7 episodes as well, folks, but definitely catch that. It's one of the better shows on there.
So you guys know what my favorite show is, Gomorrah. It's Italian. It takes place in Naples. They've actually completed shooting the Gomorrah prequel. It's going to be interesting because all the characters are way younger, talking about like the come up of Don P, who was Charo's father. So I don't know where they're going. I think Marco, who plays Chiro in the main series, is directing. He also directed the standalone film, The Immortal prequel. It's not coming out for a while, guys. I think it's like either next year or November, December next year or whatever. But I'm interested to see how that goes. So if you want me to I'll check it out. If I like it, if you guys want me to cover it. Of course, The Boys season 5 will be out next year, so we'll be on that. But yeah. Paradigm Review Show, #1 in interweb programming. Shout out to Jeff for the new membership. And like I said, you can always click join here for a member. You can go on the Patreon. You can join for free with your Gmail. Like, sub, share, sub to Mosh Shinobi, and then if you send a donation, just make sure to send me a note or either your name or whatever name, tag, handle, website, business that you want shouted out in the credits. So that is it. We're off next week, like I said. Check the Patreon for maybe a new post, and then we're back for Invasion USA. Chuck Norris, the GOAT, June 28th. That's all. Tune in next time. We're out.
Peace out, everyone. Thanks again.